Okay, yes. So, welcome everyone to our LinkedIn Live on smart and sustainable mobility with Quebec and Philadelphia. We have a wonderful panel of guests here to shepherd us along with this conversation. To, to introduce myself here, I am Phil Kehoe. I am the host of 50 Shades of Green, our podcast, and you can check in and tune in on our live at any time. We have plenty of content coming up in the near future, so I would highly recommend that you all join us on that as well. But to kick us off and introduce everyone, I would love to have Ricky Parker here. We have Ricky. He is our senior manager of transportation for North America at Climate Group. We have Michael Carroll, the Deputy Managing Director of Transportation and Infrastructure Systems for the City of Philadelphia. Emily Duncan, who is the Manager of Business Innovation at SEPTA, and Friedrich Langlois, who is on the Sustainable Mobility and Renewable Energy team for the Quebec Government Office in New York. So thank you, everyone, for joining, and we will get it started now. Over to you, Ricky.
Great. Thank you, Phil. And thank you to our panelists. Really excited for this conversation. So let's start with kind of, table setting from all of you about smart and sustainable mobility, this week, and obviously the topics you guys will be covering during your sessions next week. Can you each tell us a little bit about what smart and sustainable mobility looks like this year in 2025? And maybe, Fred, we'd start with you.
Yeah, I can do that. Thanks for having us. Smart and Sustainable Mobility Week is next week, and it's 3 showcases in 3 cities in 3 states, and with 9 partners. For example, with Philly, our partners are the City of Philadelphia, SEPTA, the airports, the Navy Yard, and we bring 20 companies from Quebec, and they come with their vehicle, their equipment, and their technology. For example, Nova Bus will bring their electric 40-foot transit bus. Milebox will bring a cargo bike. So we have also micromobility. Flow will bring an EV charging station. Cap Solar will bring a small vehicle powered with solar energy. And our partner SEPTA will bring their new zero emission fuel cell electric bus. So it's May 13th in Philly, May 14th in Newark, and May 15th in Queens.
Great. Michael, what about from the city's perspective?
Well, we're really thrilled to be able to partner for the 3rd time with our friends from Quebec and also SEPTA and the other partners that Frederick had mentioned. And I think the great thing about this event is it becomes an opportunity for the community of both advocates, governments, private sector people, you name it, to gather together and get a good look at what the state of the art looks like in terms of, not just the products, the devices, the innovation that's going on around this work, but also just to kind of exchange a little bit some ideas about how we can support each other, how we can interact with each other, and drive more progress and more innovation moving forward. And to do it in a context which is festive. We've been very lucky that we've got good weather the last few times, so we'll keep our fingers crossed, checking the forecast between now and then. But just to bring people together and really enjoy the spirit of innovation, that's really a great experience for us, and we want to support that as much as we can.
Great. What about you, Emily?
Really just echoing what Frederick and Michael have said and thinking conceptually about it. Smart and Sustainable Mobility 2025 in SEPTA looks like strategic partnerships and innovative solutions. It's really about sharing best practices, lessons learned, what our peers are doing, and really, honing in on some of those first steps to gain knowledge and really boost efficiency. I think everybody knows what's going on with transit in the United States right now. And so it's really a key time for us to really build our connections and our partnerships locally and internationally, and really have the best knowledge and innovations at our fingertips, and having really strong networks to have resource conscious development that really supports us having a safe and reliable transit network for the region to help boost the economy and really just help the region thrive.
Nice. Okay. So, Fred, maybe this question's for you, although I guess I'm curious, Michael and Emily, if you have perspective on it as well. Tell us a bit about Quebec's role in planning these showcases and kind of what can we expect from the day and the role of the Quebec office in kind of highlighting these solutions and partnerships.
No, thanks for the question, but I think you should ask Michael and Emily because I do believe. No, I'm slightly biased, but I do believe we are the glue, because honestly, we truly believe that sustainable mobility is not just about technology. It is about technology, but it's not just about technology. It's about bringing the right partners together at the right time, because technology is needed, but it's not sufficient to make it happen. So that's why I call us the glue. I mean, they are doing the real work. We're just here to bring companies from Quebec to meet partners in Philly and to share knowledge and best practices, to be honest. It's not only executives talking to executives, but it's engineers talking to engineers. It's procurement people talking to procurement people. So there is the showcase part, and there is also the knowledge part, because a lot of people come to learn things from the exhibitors, but to learn things from keynote speakers. So we will have this year a very interesting mix of keynote speakers. We'll have Dick Voice, which is a PhD in economics, talking about trade. We'll have the New York City Chief Fleet Officer, who is going to come to Philly to share his roadmap with the city folks from Philly. So we're sharing best practices between cities, between states and province for our case. And there is something else I just wanted to mention. We have two roundtables, and one we started, as a matter of fact, at last Climate Week in September in New York. We did a roundtable on green campuses with local universities such as NYU, for example. It went so well. It was so interesting. The conversation was so meaningful. We're doing it again, but this time is in Philly with local universities, of course. So with Drexel and Westchester and Lafayette College and Temple. So it's not only showcase, it's also thought leadership, sharing best practices, sharing knowledge.
Okay.
I'll just say, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead, Michael.
Well, yeah, I think Frederick's being a little bit too modest. I mean, they're more than just a glue. I think they do a lot of the work, and they also kind of drive us to really be creative to make sure that this is a good experience for the people who attend. And I feel like we've had a really productive partnership. But partnership is really the key word, because as we're exchanging ideas and we're thinking creatively about, like I said before, how to bring people together, but also make sure it's an enriching experience. I think what Frederick's saying really speaks to that. So if we're seeing or hearing about things that have happened in New York or other settings, and we can contribute our ideas about what will work here in Philadelphia, so that people aren't just spending time together, but they're engaged, and they can bring their ideas and they can take new ideas away from the whole event. That's really been our goal here. And there's a little bit of a friendly competition that we like to maintain with the other venues for the work the Quebec team is doing. And we always want to be the best and think about the most creative and fun things we can do here in Philly to make sure people keep coming back here.
Yeah, and I think the Quebec mentality, it's really strong friendship. We were saying a little bit ago how we've become more than just co-collaborators. We're really friends. It's so easy to talk to any of the folks that are on the committee organizing. And I think that it's a really great reminder to have an international peer being one of our biggest cheerleaders and really championing this event and championing the work that we do here in Philadelphia. They're really doing a great job helping us see it in ourselves that Philly is really becoming a hub for mobility. And, we're calling so many people from our local region, not just Pennsylvania, but from New Jersey, Delaware, Western Pennsylvania, all over are coming to this event because we have such really great thought leadership, as you mentioned, great speakers. And it's not just the leadership, it's the people that are really helping on the day to day that get to collaborate and talk with one another at this event. And so I think that folks don't always have the opportunity to get out into the field and to experience these technologies and to talk with the people that are developing them. And some of them have live demos, which is really fun to see and kind of really get the wheels turning for people at all levels of agencies and companies, thinking about how we can move forward into the future and have really great advances, not just in technology, like Frederick was saying, in processes as well, in the way that we lead our people and the way that we do business with each other. It's really important. And I think that, thinking about the Quebec team, it helps us broaden the lens of how we look at events like this. So we're not just so focused on our day to day, but remembering it does take a village or an entire country or an entire continent to really have incredible transit options.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's hear a little more about then some of that great work that Philadelphia is doing. As you mentioned, Emily, it is kind of this hub, and Quebec is doing this great job of highlighting the work. Emily, I'd love to go back to you and hear a little bit about how Philadelphia's transportation planning and implementation has evolved over the years to meet changing needs, and what challenges you've identified that come along with that.
So, resource conscious planning, and SEPTA is always looking to focus on safety, reliability, and customer service. And with all of the changing technologies, we are boosting our security measures both physically and digitally so the public can really trust our service, whether they're just riding the vehicles, walking around in the city, being conscious of our vehicles, or even paying with an app online. We're really doing as much as we can to ensure safety, trust, and transparency within our region.
I'll jump in and say, from the city of Philadelphia's perspective, we work very closely with SEPTA, of course, all the time. You can go back, I think, to 2017 when they were putting their sustainability plan. I guess it was the first sustainability plan together. Our Office of Sustainability within the city was trying to be supportive and make sure that we were also putting our GreenWorks plan together in a way that was compatible. And there's always a pretty good level of exchange. We like to think that, transit is a climate policy. Supporting transit is a way to make sure we're reducing our impacts with respect to greenhouse gases and other things. It makes a big difference across so much of the quality of life of the city of Philadelphia, just by virtue of the way the city of Philadelphia is built, has been built over the last, 350, 400 years. And we're a walkable city. And to the extent that people can have a very rich life without owning a car, providing good transit access is always the thing that really supercharges that experience because it gives you access to the whole region. For our own planning, we want to supplement all of that by making sure we've got strong networks for cycling, that we're exploring what we can do to make sure people have access to bike share, for folks who need to take advantage of things like car share. That's something we want to look at again. It's been a while since we've spent focus on that. But then as a municipality with a large fleet, we've made shifts in what we're doing as well. We've essentially shifted all of our procurement of light duty vehicles and passenger vehicles to electric or hybrid electric vehicles. That presents new challenges. I mean, we have to think through what we're doing with charging infrastructure, but we're getting organized. We're trying to coordinate as much as possible with our partners to make sure that we're tackling those challenges. And, this is an environment which is becoming a little bit more challenging, but I think we've got some wins that we're going to lean into and see what we can do to really accelerate that as much as we can.
Got it. Fred, anything to add?
Me? No, I'm always amazed when I go to Philly. No, I mean, I'm not from Philly myself. I think you can hear that, but I'm always amazed when I go there because it's an amazing city, livable. You can walk, which for me, a city is all about walking. So that's also why I live in New York, but that's the case in Philly. And I don't know, it's about SEPTA because they have a reliable transit system, so people can go from A to B without owning a car or without using Uber. So it makes a difference. I mean, the way you live the city makes a real difference. And I know, even if it's not always easy, but the city people and the SEPTA people are making this city better, safer, and cleaner on a daily basis. So just kudos to them.
Yeah, no, agreed. I in my visits, I don't think I've ever gone to Philly without taking advantage of the bike share. So I can attest to the convenience of that, and it is a great way to see it. I mean, so Michael, you mentioned a little bit, obviously, the kind of shifting political budget environment that of course cities, transit agencies are in. I'm curious how you think about the outlook for smart, sustainable transportation planning in Philadelphia, given that changing environment that we find ourselves in.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a challenge, and I don't want to minimize that, but A lot of this is, both in our DNA, it's in the built form. There's no getting around that. It also is a situation where, having success in the previous administration, but even before that, seeing that there was interest in promoting, for example, the charging and fueling infrastructure program under the first Trump administration. There's roots, there's seeds that have been planted that are beginning to take root, and we just need to make sure that we kind of nurture all that work and push it along. There's always going to be an ebb and flow at the federal level. Sometimes there's an ebb and flow at the state level and even the local level. But as we implement things, as we translate our plans into reality, and this supports what we've talked about, a quality of life or kind of life. It supports an economy. It supports businesses. That cements the work. And so that's part of the goal, is to make sure as much as possible we're cementing changes in behavior, changes in mode of travel, changes in the availability of infrastructure, which over time will carry forward. And so the pace is something that maybe we need to adjust now and then to make sure we're not exposing ourselves to too much of the winds of change, so to speak. But the direction, I think, is pretty much set, and this is going to be something that people will have to reckon with. Even if you ideologically have a different perspective, the economy, the environment are going to push everybody in a certain direction. And so we just need to be prepared for that as best we can, and find the wins where we can, and find common ground where we can. And I think you have conversations who have different political perspectives, and maybe you start out in a place where the words don't match up, but when you dig a little deeper and you think about like what people's actual interests are, there's a lot more alignment than you might think. So getting past the hot air and getting into the reality of the way cities need to work, the role that cities actually will always play in our national economy and the global economy. Once we get to that stage, I still feel pretty good.
Emily, what about you?
I think Mike really hit the nail on the head there. And just to talk a little bit about at SEPTA, continual learning and investigation. So whether it's learning internally or externally, we actually have a program in a department that's focused on accountability and efficiencies. So efficiency is something that we are really focused on in our day-to-day workflow at SEPTA, from the leadership down to even our co-ops. Everybody is looking to do things in a more efficient manner so that we can accomplish more with less, so that we're able to give back to our community as much as we can and provide the best, most reliable and as frequent as possible service as we can. And like I said, learning and investigating, training and retraining, and making sure that people know the best practices, and being open to suggestions. When we have people that notice something and they bring it up the chain, we're able to efficiently make changes to help the organization run more effectively, resource conscious in budgetary as well as the sustainability aspect. We have more recycling programs. We have programs that help reduce the amount of water we're using. So we're constantly looking to create better processes that have more efficiencies throughout the entire organization.
One of the things you mentioned earlier, Emily, about safety and reliability, which sounds like obviously a major priority of SEPTA's, I assume related to that is of course kind of equitable access to transit. I'm curious both what SEPTA and the city are doing to kind of expand that equitable access to transit for the residents.
Sure. I think that some of our infrastructure programs, we're really looking to make sure that folks everywhere have access, and whether that is to the passes or physical access. One of the things that we're doing is modernizing a lot of our system to be a lot more ADA friendly, which provides a lot more equity to folks, whether they're disabled in our older communities or younger communities, or mothers with strollers. Hopefully a lot of people have seen the news about our new stroller policy. We're really trying to make it equitable for people of all types with any kinds of needs, whether you're going to school, to work, to doctor's appointments, everything like that. We really want it to be a lifestyle network. Like like Frederick and Michael have both said, people use transit every day. We have over 700,000 riders every day, and we're really trying to focus on what people need to make their ride, like I said, safe and reliable, and providing opportunity for them to give us feedback and making sure that we are taking that feedback into consideration as we modernize and revise our policies and routes and the way that we run things in our operations.
I'll just say, we work a lot with SEPTA, and we have over the year on a number of things that support equity. So fare reform has been a big initiative that we've undertaken for the last few years, kind of rationalizing as much as we can how people actually use the system, so we're not penalizing people who need to make transfers, for example. We've worked on some initiatives, pilots to provide fare support. We've really strongly encouraged people to get into the commuter benefit program that SEPTA runs, which we think also supports equity, especially for large employers, which have employees spanning many income groups, including the city of Philadelphia. We work to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make the transit access for students in our school district work well. In addition to SEPTA, we do consider our bike share system to be a form of public transportation, and we use a dock-based program, so we can really target investments and attention and use to specific neighborhoods by the fact that it's a dock-based bike share system. And so that from the very beginning, and we just celebrated our 10th anniversary, which we're very proud of, was based on extending this infrastructure into neighborhoods which may have previously been lower access to the central parts of the city, may have been disinvested in terms of supportive bike infrastructure, safety infrastructure in general. So we've made good progress, and we're very proud we've built what's proven to be a very sustainable, highly utilized, and much loved program, which has had that focus and will continue to do so. Building relationships with communities.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So, Frederick, I want to maybe bring you back in for this next question. Thinking about the role of collaboration, which obviously we've talked a little bit about partnerships, and the technology on its own is not enough. You need kind of innovative solutions. You need partnerships. I'm curious how you all are collaborating with other organizations and stakeholders across the region to implement your transportation planning goals. And again, Frederick, maybe I'll start with you for that question.
Oh, we're not here to implement any goals. I mean, that's not who we are. We're just here, to share best practices, to share knowledge. And we're facing the same challenges. Let's be honest, borders don't matter much. We're sharing the same challenges. So if we can team up to find solutions, plus, when you talk about, and you know that better than me, but sustainable mobility is not an exact science at all. Sometimes we're struggling with vendors, with solutions. We don't know which one is the right path forward. So we're just here to share together, to share notes, and to try to move forward together. And I think it's maybe easier at a subnational level, states together, states, province, or municipalities or agencies, than it is with the federal government, for example. So I think we're truly grateful for the partnership, because we're grateful for the partnership, but because also we share the same values and we're trying to achieve the same goals together.
Michael, what about you? What's collaboration look like?
Yeah, I think it's as much as anything, it's about sharing practices and having people who have experience implementing either technologies or these practices in different municipalities, slightly different contexts, is very useful for us to glean lessons from and try and think about the practices we employ here. What sort of technologies that we are interested in using here. And I'm reflecting on some of the previous comments that you've heard, and I think what's really quite wonderful is that when we entertain vendors, businesses from Quebec, when we have good conversations with the provincial staff and government, it's familiar in some ways, and yet it's not routine. It never feels like a routine conversation, because there are things that are different that make us reflect. And some of that has to do with differences in culture, some of it's differences in law, differences in language, and it makes us reflect on what we do because we can see similarities, but it it also poses that we could be doing things differently. We could be thinking about how we serve our public differently because we see some differences that are worth exploring and understanding better. And that international context really forces you to do that, and that's something we value very much here.
Emily?
And like they're both saying, the relationships and having the similar values and similar goals and the knowledge sharing of how to get there. I have a really quick example I can share with one of our programs that actually launched on Wednesday. So for the Philadelphia audience, in the center city into the West Philly area, we are starting to use a smart camera system to identify vehicles that are illegally parked. So it's a partnership with the PPA where we're looking to have safe and reliable transit. And it's hard to be reliable when our vehicles physically can't make turns or can't stop in lanes and people can't board safely. So working with PPA and new technology to be able to enforce parking regulation a bit more, we're leveraging each other's assets for a common goal to create a greater good for our community. And so it's really amazing, like Frederick was saying, to have these conversations and to be able to share the knowledge and say, we have that problem too, and to work together to solve it because the sum is greater than each of its parts, and that's really what all of these relationships are working to create, is something that flows a lot easier and actually does require slightly less effort when you work together and have a lot more resources at your disposal.
Yeah, we always work in silos by design. I mean, we have budget, we have stakeholders. So by design, we work in silos. But with a moving target such as sustainable mobility, if we can break the silos and learn from each other, it's brilliant. I mean, I remember when I was once approached by the city of Boston about charging infrastructure, and they said, "What do you do in Quebec?" So I shared that with them. But I said also, you should read the New York City DOT Connect pilot, which is published. It's online. Read it. They've just launched 100 curbside charging stations. You might learn from them, and they didn't know about it. So we're sharing knowledge because at the end of the day, we will move forward together or we won't. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so that I think is a great kind of segue to the final question. I mean, I really enjoyed this conversation. In just the last couple minutes and maybe a little bit of a lightning round, just quickly for folks listening, either on LinkedIn or the podcast, how can people get involved? What is the way that you encourage, whether it's people in Philadelphia, whether it's people in kind of their own towns? What is your kind of quick answer for how folks can get involved in these kinds of projects and conversations? And maybe I'll go back to you, Frederick, to kick it off.
Oh, I mean, since the Smart and Sustainable Mobility Week is next week, I have to do it. I mean, I have
Yeah.
to.
Well,
I mean, if you're in Philly this coming Tuesday, register for the showcase. Come and walk the show, talk to vendors, listen to keynote speakers, attend roundtables. You'll learn a lot of things and you'll meet new people. It's going to be interesting no matter what. And since Michael said the weather is going to be sunny across the board, you might
has to be true.
because no, we didn't mention it, but the showcase is hosted by the Navy Yard. They're celebrating their 25th, sorry, anniversary this year, and it's an amazing venue. So come and join us next week.
Yes, Frederick took all my words away from me there.
Emily, any other thoughts on how folks can get involved?
Yeah, just stay active and stay engaged, whether it's attending public hearings or providing feedback. Check out SEPTA.org or any of our social media pages. We often have postings of events going on or surveys that you can fill out, and also community organizations. Fifth Square is a really great way. They're always looking for volunteers. And last but certainly not least, stay engaged with your local legislatures or in your elected officials. They have a really big impact on what's happening with transit, and they love to hear your feedback. And so I think that there's plenty of options, and whether it's a phone call, going to an event, posting things online, just like we're doing, sharing knowledge with your community, it's the best way to have action happening around you.
Yeah, and I want to actually also echo what Emily's saying, and particularly now, we're all in budget seasons now, so I would really strongly suggest that people in the public, there's always things that can be improved, and it's worth voicing your concerns about things that can be improved. It's also important to advocate for the things that you like and that you appreciate, and the things that you value in the way that we're pursuing public transportation, also mobility and sustainability as larger themes. And to get out there and advocate for that stuff with your elected officials is really incredibly important.
Great. Well, I think that is great advice. Good luck next week. We're really excited for the full week of events for the Tuesday in Philadelphia. So thank you to our panelists, folks from Quebec, from the city of Philadelphia, from SEPTA. Thank you to Phil, who is the host of the Climate Group podcast, 50 Shades of Green. I think that is it for today's conversation, but thank you all so much for sharing this insight. This has been, I think, a really thoughtful and thought-provoking conversation, and we're really excited to hear how your conversations go next week.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.